Friday, June the 9th, 2023, and I'm on the Suffolk Essex border, about to re-walk a walk initially done in 2009, I think it was November, on the old mobile, so massively in need of an update. Book 1, walk 8, Bures to Sudbury, which is in Suffolk, around 10 miles, because I'm going to maintain the main walk, which is what I did initially. There is a variant off to Great Henney, I believe it is, but on this occasion I'm going to stick with the route I did originally, but probably missing out Bulmer Tye, because obviously I won't be having lunch in the recommended pub there, which involves a diversion. Got a cracking day today, clear blue skies, but as you can see, once again there's a bit of a breeze, around 20-21 knots today, or is that miles per hour? I can't remember. I'm not at sea, although sometimes my memory is, but yeah, it's pretty breezy and just about touch and go whether we'll get some interference today. 25 is usually the indicator for me, but otherwise beautiful walking weather. Unfortunately there will be cattle. The walk involves a crossing of common land towards Sudbury, so the old beasts will be around, I know that. They might hold me up a bit, let's see. Once again though, the breeze is coming from the east and the northeast, so a nice cooling effect. But as I've commented before, it is odd how the wind direction of late, and I mean the last couple of weeks really, several weeks, has not been in the usual prevailing southwesterly direction. For me, that's another indicator of the global situation. Things are changing, as we have noted with the fires in Canada this week. Yeah, unusual. Anyway, let's press on. 12:15, should be done by well, 5:36ish I would have thought, subject to cattle. Yeah, interesting little waiting room here. Map here of walking in Bures. Some nice shots of the railway. Which certainly won't have changed much since I was last here almost 14 years ago. Look at that, that's a good one, isn't it, in the winter there. Don't get much snow like that these days, do we? Bury St Edmund's signal box. Yeah, and I wonder if that's the viaduct over towards Wakes Colne, where I did a walk not so long back to this station. So much of this walk is influenced by Gainsborough. You can research him online. See, that's indicating 7.2 miles, but the way we're doing it is slightly longer, although possibly not if I miss out Bulmer Tye. Not sure how much distance that knocks off the 10. Information panel here about the Stour Valley Path at Bures. Don't recall that being around when I last did this walk. Things in that direction seem to have improved, i.e. information. change at Marks Tay and Liverpool Street to get here. Just overlooking Bures Common here. And the village sign. Yeah, I picked up on this 14 years back. The notes refer to Colchester Street. It's actually Colchester Road. So we're now following the St Edmund Way, which we've walked previously, and the Stour Valley Path. So straight away passing a lovely park or garden here on my right. So within a few minutes of leaving the station we're underway, which is great. I love these sorts of walks where you haven't got to walk through loads of urban environment. Always a sad time for me when the cow parsley disappears. As I say, as I said a few weeks back, it has a very short lifespan and adds so much colour to our hedgerows and byways and road verges. And I saw someone in our local paper complaining about it because unusually our local authority has taken a bit of a back seat on cutting the vegetation this year, following complaints from the likes of me. And of course someone's written a letter to the local paper complaining about a lack of road visibility, which of course will slow vehicles down, stop them speeding around country lanes, which is a good thing. If you cut it all down, they're just going to zoom round there like it's the Monaco Grand Prix. And we're soon out into agricultural land. Some wheat in front of me here. Delightful. Bit of jet noise above me at the minute. Must be Stansted. This is where I could do with the bird song recognition app, because there's a warbler of some description in amongst that willow there. There, I don't recognise. Wonderful little song. Not the blue tit. That. I wonder if I can record the snippet at home and recognise it that way. Something to trial, I reckon. So as you can see, the water cannon are out today, watering what appears to be spring onions here. An old pillbox over there on my right, protecting the River Stour, most likely. So we leave the track now at this point where the pump is supplying water to the cannons out in the fields there, and we enter woodland, still following the Stour and St Edmund Way. So we are now following the Stour. And as you can see, we're entering cattle country, albeit that that's quite dry, so hopefully won't be encountering them this early on. There are some beasts. thankfully some distance away on my right. Look quite docile today in the heat anyway. Now crossing over the rail line, and thankfully this one hasn't been abandoned or removed. We're in Suffolk as opposed to Essex, where a number of crossings were abandoned or lost because of Network Rail's safety policies. Now passing a cottage on my left with a decent view, save the TV masts in the distance. And we're now entering the village or hamlet of Loshes. Pleasant cottage here. Being in Loshes, that's self-explanatory. Reed would have been abundant, I would have thought, once upon a time. Hence the roofing materials. Excellent spot here for lizards and so on, though I don't see any. Follow the sign for Sudbury here. Passing the Loshes Lion Community Pub, an early lunchtime option. With a decent vista. And there are the opening hours. Some local events in the near future. Looks like there's a bit of a garden at the back there. And this lane is actually quite busy, so sitting out the front's probably not a good idea. Another useful defibrillator. Continuing up the lane through Loshes. Railway line just over there, still on my right. So passing the village hall at Loshes. Okay, the original route went up there through that field gate. GPX track still goes that way as well, but the recommended route per the notes is continuing up the road for another 110 yards. So the GPX track is currently out of date slightly. So the new recommended route brings us to Holy Innocents Church, which I wouldn't have recorded previously because it wasn't en route. Through a gate here that doesn't seem to serve any purpose. And the onward direction thereafter is up that lane, I believe, or next to it. There is a seat outside here for those that want an early picnic. And this is one of those round towered churches, which, as you can see, seems to be home to some house martins or swallows. House martins, yeah. Wonderful. Let's have a look inside because it is open. Interesting inscription, which is just about legible. And what a solid door, eh? Only the chancel area is open because of an unsafe nave. Some plaster having fallen from the ceiling still. Read about that in the notes, that's been the case for a while apparently. Looks like lots of this place is falling apart. Well, contrary to all the open signs and messages, it isn't open. Tried that handle several times, pulling it towards me and turning it as directed, and it is locked, unfortunately. And there's the reason why the main door is locked. There's a smaller side door 10 yards or so on from the main door, and you can gain access that way. But clearly the little services are happening only in this section now. It's probably all that's needed these days anyway. Can't imagine much of a congregation turning out here. 20,000 needed for the church restoration. Some great leaded windows here. Not throughout though, just at the nave here. So yeah, enter through that little side door. And there is a better seat over there under the shade of that tree. Very tempting, but it's too early in the walk for me just yet. Footpath sign's actually on the floor, but immediately opposite the church here. Follow a grassy path uphill next to a cereal field. Yeah, lovely little church. I hope they do save it. Not many of them around, as you'll be able to tell if you research it online. Parting view of the church and the surrounding area. It's not a very high walk this one today, got a maximum of about 286 feet. As low as 60 odd I think it was as well. So that would have been the original Time Out Walks path down there. Why they didn't visit the church originally beats me, because it's well worth viewing. So by turning right now, I'm back on the original route GPX track. Got some nice respite from the overhead sun here. Got a UV level of 8 today, so quite powerful according to the Met. Now I think that's a garden warbler as opposed to a chiff-chaff. Sorry, not a chiff-chaff, a blackcap. Beautiful song. glorious, particularly when accompanied by that beautiful song. There's another one ahead of me now with a chiff-chaff in the background. That's why my brain got scrambled a bit. But that is a powerful, beautiful, fluty song. And behind me as well. Field is full of these wonderful yellow flowers, which aren't on a long stem like the ones I recorded last week. Now, using the Google search bar and clicking on the flower icon, as I mentioned last week, this has been identified as bird's foot trefoil. I wonder if anyone agrees with that. If so, that's very good identification. All via Google's search bar, camera symbol, and then flower ID. Bird's foot trefoil. Followed by a load of oxeyes, daisies. Just walking past Moat Farm on the map. Got a pretty overgrown section here, which is unusual for Suffolk. Usually sing their praises in the past. So I've reported this on What 3 Words. See how Suffolk are at responding to that. New county for me to report to. This is Moat Wood on my left here. Turn right here up this country lane towards Hill Farmhouse. Still on the St Edmund and the Stour Valley. Decent view ahead now towards lunchtime stop. Great Henney. Passing Valley Farm here on the map. That tells you something in the background about the livestock type here. Funny enough, the farm on the right, where the sheep are, it's a different farm. The only thing that slightly detracts on this walk is the pylons. Get them down at Manningtree as well on that walk. Seems to be an annoying feature of the Stour Valley AONB. Views back whence I've come from Valley Farm there, and as you can see the soil is really cracking up again. We're due a little bit of rain this weekend, I believe, but that's not going to make a great deal of difference. So at this juncture, take a left and stick with the Stour Valley Way as opposed to going through that gate. This path seems to have been better maintained. Walking across Loshes Meadows on the map with a decent sized wood on my left, which is some kind of nature reserve, I think. Also per the map. Still got these overhead wires above us though. I think someone's made reference in the comments page of this walk, which you can find under the title as usual, about this EMF issue, and they've given an alternative version if you want to avoid these pylons and the negative energy they give off. I'm taking it as it comes, on the basis that these trees are offsetting it for me to a degree. Now entering Loshes woodland, having just crossed over this lane here. Just up here, half right. So I'm now entering the nature reserve. Bit ironic, isn't it? You've got this massive EMF field. Nature reserve. Okay, this looks like this might be another overgrown one, as I'm stood next to this deer fence and gate. Yeah, it's impassable, so I'm going to report that on what 3 words and try under the pylons. Okay, so what I did was continue along the path under the pylon for about 30 yards, bringing me into a clear path here, as you can see, which bypasses the overgrown section I just filmed and brings me back onto a path here, it seems, which is the right one, with the deer fence on my right. So that brings you out into this field, and we're back on track. Yeah, for some reason there's an electric fence here. Bizarre. Must be a legacy thing. I also came straight across the field rather than walking to the end, as the GPX track does, take you to the end of that tree line and back again. I just did a swift right. About 25 degrees now, so pretty warm. But we're back into cooling woodland for a bit. Decent views out on the right. And there is my lunchtime stop. Coming up to 3 now. Take this signpost, which looks like a recycled one. Take this finger post up towards the church now, past old school house here, and Great Henry, or Great Henney even, rectory. Interesting feature there outside the churchyard, or within it, I'm not sure. Got a row of cottages here. Yeah, that feature is in the churchyard. Sun's against me though, so I can't hang around there too long. And here is the church. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's any seats, and even the storm porch seems to be closed off, which I don't believe it was last time in 2009, because that's where I had my lunch. Well, that's excellent. There's one chair or seat around the back of the church in the shade as well. Lovely little wildflower meadow here as well. So, 3 o'clock, let's get fed. Storm porch is open, so I could have gone there, and I might be able to get in the church afterwards. Let's see. God rest your soul, Jim Gifford. Didn't have a very long life. 3 o'clock on the button. And around 5 miles in, So depending on which variant of the walk you're doing, nicely positioned around halfway. So lunch has been had, just gone 3:30, and I've got into the church, St Mary the Virgin, Great and Little Henney. Nice and cool in here. Another lovely stained glass. Clearly one of the big wigs, lived to be 61. Nice little message there. Some of those cottages I mentioned in front of the church. Interesting little feature there about bats in churches, and there are some in this church apparently. Passing another very pleasant thatched cottage, and then an alternative way back to the church should the field not be passable, which it was for me today. Then passing the Henry Parish Room, or Henney, I keep saying Henry, Henney Parish Room. Steps referred to are no longer there, worn away, but we continue through this hole in the hedge next to this footpath marker, what's left of it. Another overgrown path that needs reporting, and I will do. So this path here would take you over to Bulmer Tye and the former lunchtime stop. But I'm continuing along this lane for a couple of 100 yards to rejoin the path from Bulmer Tye a little bit further on. So that lane would bring you from Bulmer Tye to this junction where I continue. We're in Little Henney now, but I'm continuing straight ahead here outside the gates of Henney Lodge. As I say, there's no point for me to go to Bulmer Tye today because I'm not having lunch over there. Now walking down this very pleasant byway at the back of woodland known as the Rise, R-Y-E-S. Rejoining the Stour Valley Way here, which comes up this hill from the east. Cracking afternoon. So I'm headed sort of north, do a left here to rejoin the Stour Valley Way. About 260 foot up here, so we're approaching the high point of the walk. Passing some barn building here, somewhere near Middleton Hall on the map. Views back whence I've come. Now yet another pleasantly cooling tree tunnel. Just on the edge of Sudbury now, with the store in the distance there. Now entering Colne Vale, still on the St Edmund and the Stour Valley Way. Okay, because there's problems with the trains I notice on my National Rail app, I'm going to try and get to the station ASAP, which means avoiding the commons altogether and the likely cattle, who are likely to be placid today anyway because of the heat. But I'm now rejoining the St Edmund Way and getting as close to the station on it, as it's a former rail line, as I can. Would be lovely if this line was reopened wherever it went to. Obviously goes further into the town than the current station. Over the Stour again. There are some of the said beasts. And looking into town with its church. And some modern houses. Friars Meadow over there on my right. Information panel here about the Gainsborough Trail Meadow Walk. Picture there of Sudbury Station, 1946. So here we are, 9.5 miles, 4 hours on the button later. And I'm just in time for the 17:29. That was a wonderful walk. Can't remember any of it from previous years, but highly recommended. Beautiful afternoon, not a cloud in the sky. Wind wasn't an issue as far as I can tell anyway, but it was very welcome because it was coming from the right cooling direction. So that's book 1, walk 8, recompleted. Nearly 14 years later, I can't believe that. And I'm still using, well, I'm not using the same handy cam because I didn't have it then, I had the mobile phone. But anyway, till the next time,